Hey guys, welcome to this video. In this video I am going to walk you through what is new with the Phantom LUT updates. Number 1, improved color science, most important. Number 2, better camera matching, very important. And number 3, I've tidied up and neatened up the folder structure for the LUTs. It's getting a little bit cluttered. So I've removed, there's no longer a Davinci version and then a regular version. There's just one version. Because as I've refined and improved my process, I've realized that I didn't need to have different versions for different NLEs. That was a mistake and I fixed it. Okay, so let's talk about the most exciting part. Number 1, better color science. Okay, so over the last 18 months, we here in Melbourne, Australia, have been in the longest lockdown on the planet, which has certainly come with its own challenges, but on the bright side, it really gave me time to dig deep to understand my Alexa a lot better. With all of this spare time on my hands, I've been working over months to refine and improve on my Alexa emulation process, in particular to try and replicate some new characteristics I'd observed after shooting so many hours of test footage with my Alexa Mini. I started seeing things I'd never noticed before, unintuitive, non-linear color responses that gave the Alexa its unique look, so I wanted to understand better what I was seeing. The discovery has resulted in my best Alexa emulation yet, and I've thrown out everything I did before to rebuild the process from scratch to capitalize on these new observations. To cut a long story short, in my testing I've discovered what I think are some of the key elements that underpin the Alexa's layered and complex color responses. And the cool part is, they have an especially pleasant impact on skin tones. In the past I'd gotten really close, even though there was always some nuance I felt I'd missed. I chalked it up to the limitations of what a LUT could do or the discrepancies of the hardware being used between different camera brands. But one day, after months of hitting a brick wall, something finally clicked and I figured out what I was actually seeing and how the Alexa was achieving it. The results, you'll notice, are at times subtle and other times more obvious. But in general, you'll notice deeper, richer, and more complex, nuanced color responses with the skin tones in particular appearing to have some extra life and vibrancy in them, while still appearing natural. It will show up in all lighting conditions, but particularly in mixed and tungsten lighting scenarios, arenas where the Alexa has always stood out above its competitors, due to its brilliant, film-like color science. I was fascinated with how the Alexa rendered skin tones in tungsten lighting, particularly when the white balance was warmer at say 5000 or 4300. The skin has this deep, luscious, reddish, goldish film-like quality that I'd never been able to fully emulate in the past, until now. This is one of the big developments of my new and improved emulation process. Remembering that the Alexa took over from 35mm film in Hollywood precisely because it retained and in some ways improved upon film's aesthetic, it's no wonder the Alexa color science is not as straightforward and clinical as what we see in, say, Sony cameras, which by comparison are more color accurate but also more digital looking. Not to say the Alexa isn't color accurate, it is, but it's more perfectly imperfect, and manages to pull off the magic trick of not looking digital while being fully digital. As a result, Sony's default color science often lacks the X factor that the Alexa possesses, as by comparison it seems less layered and complex, and that's because, in my experience, it really is. But these new LUTs will change that, and I can't wait for you to get your hands on them as they've really got something new and unique to offer. So get ready for more complex and flattering skin tones and deeper, richer colors all around. Alright guys, so I'm just going to do a quick illustration of how to match cameras. This is by no means a tutorial. I'm just going to give you a quick bird's eye view of the basic concept. If you do need more information on how to use color charts, how to set custom white balances, how to do all of that, there's plenty of videos on YouTube. I'm going to link below to one from Caleb from DSLR Video Shooter, which I think is one of the best, and he goes into depth about it. But here I'm just going to illustrate to you the importance of custom white balancing and show how the LUTs will match when you do that properly. So this is my Alexa Mini, and this is the Pocket 6K Pro. Obviously it doesn't matter what the cameras are, the concepts and the principles are the same. But this is what they look like when they're both shot at 5500 Kelvin. Now you might be thinking, what's going on here? They don't match at all. This is yellowy green. The Alexa kind of looks pinker, more magenta. And that's because every CMOS sensor has inaccuracies when it comes to how they see white, and small tolerances allowed for that inaccuracy, and different camera brands are more accurate and less yada yada. But it's true even with the Alexa. If you get 3 Alexas and line them all up and shoot the same scene, even if they're all set to 5500 Kelvin, for example, you shouldn't expect that they're actually going to see white the same, because every single sensor has its own personality quirks. You might have noticed this yourself if you have sometimes, even just trying to match up to cameras of the same brand, like 2A7S3s, sometimes they're quite different in terms of how they see white. And the thing about white in terms of color science is all other colors are defined in relation to white. They're all affected by the white balance. So think of it like a compass. If you have a compass that sees true north and is actually tuned and accurate, then you know with confidence where west, east, and south are. And obviously if north is slightly off, then all of the other directions are going to be off, because they're all defined in relationship to north. Well, it's the same with white. If a camera's color science, the white is off, then all the other cameras are going to be off. So what are we going to do about that? Well, this is where custom white balancing comes in. So you could shoot a custom white balance on the day if you'd like to, if that's your preferred way of doing it with a grade card. Or my preferred way of doing it, I find just a little bit more flexible and speedy on set. I don't have to spend as much time and there's less room for mistakes. I just shoot color chart with both cameras, make sure they're exposed the same. And then in post in Davinci, there's this handy little white balance picker tool down here. You find a well-exposed gray area, ideally on your color chart. I mean, you can use pieces of paper, but I find obviously a color chart's going to be more accurate. And then you zero the white balance on that gray part of the color chart. Now, I've already prepared too early to save time. And watch this. Let's focus on the vector scope first. You can see everything locks in. And then visually, let's have a look at the visuals. And we're going to lock it in now. So you can see there the Alexa and the Pocket 6K. Now we have a much nicer, closer match. And that's the importance of custom white balancing. So the only other thing I'd say is obviously make sure that you do your color correction before you do your color grading and before you put the LUT on, because you want to be zeroing the log footage so that they line up, and then the LUT will take that log footage and will emulate the Alexa's color science from there. Hey guys, just one more thing. I've noticed this process isn't as easy for whatever reason in Premiere. I find their white balance picker tool is just less accurate and consistent. So just be ready if you are a Premiere user that you may need to put in just a little bit more effort to line up the camera's white balances, because I find for whatever reason their white balance function just isn't as good as Davinci's. So just a heads up on that. And as the LUTs have no white balance offsets built into them, if you are noticing the camera's white balances are way off, again, it won't be the LUT, it'll be Premiere's inaccurate white balance tool. Okay, so just before I go, I want to say I hope you find some benefit in these updates. And if you want to see more stuff like this from me, you see that red button below that says subscribe, give that a click. On that note, I do have some exciting things in store. Number one, I'm going to take what I've learned here and work on improving the Film LUTs one more time, so stay tuned for those updates. Number two, I'm planning on adding some new cameras to the Phantom LUT universe. I get requests for new camera support all the time and finally feel ready to expand. And third and final, I've finally started an Instagram page for Phantom LUTs, and I'll be on the hunt for incredible work to feature. So don't forget to tag us in your next post and give us a follow. Alright guys, thanks for watching.